Thank you, Senator King. Senator Budd, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you and good morning to the nominees for being here. Secretary Dalton, thanks for meeting in my office last week. I've got a few questions. Appreciate a simple yes or no when able, so that we can get through all these. So in your current role, you have direct responsibility for policy and planning oversight of defense support of civilian authorities, including the military support of the Department of Homeland Security at the southwest border. That's correct?
Yes.
Right, thanks. So in our discussion, you mentioned taking multiple trips to the southwest border in the last year and witnessing firsthand the immigration crisis. Is that correct?
Yes.
So in our meeting, you acknowledged that there is, in your words, some utility in employing barriers at the border. Is that correct?
Senator, as part of a system
Let's try
of border
to stick to
security,
yes and no.
as part of a system of border security management, in my personal view, I believe a border barrier can
So
help
wait, I'm
mitigate
just
the flow.
going back to in our meeting, you did acknowledge that there's some utility in employing barriers, correct?
As part of a system of border security management.
So I take that as a yes. So it should come as no surprise to anyone that employing barriers would help redirect the movement of large groups of people to ensure economy of force. And if Border Patrol was able to deploy more effectively, then DHS demand for DoD support would ultimately go down. And it seems that would be in everyone's best interest. Do you agree with that? It would be in everyone's best interest if DHS demand for DoD support would ultimately go down?
Senator, I believe that if DHS was fully resourced for its mission, its statutory lead role in border security, then we could reduce the demand on DoD.
And that would be good, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's why my colleagues and I are concerned about the administration's decision to auction off border wall materials rather than install them and actually help Border Patrol do their job. Now, I've been there. We talked about that. I've seen the materials feet away from the intended wall. So what really concerned me, though, was when I asked, given your border visits, whether you had either advocated personally for a change in policy regarding the use of border wall materials or even been part of any conversation internally to do so. And you stated, and I quote, "It's not my job to advocate for a change in policy. It's my job to implement what the administration tells me," end quote. Now, Secretary Dalton, you've been nominated to serve as the #2 civilian in the Air Force. And that position demands independent judgment and leadership. So when faced with tough decisions, including the ones you may disagree with, are you just going to do what those over you tell you to do, or should we expect different?
Senator, the president made a day one decision to halt construction of the border wall. I am a member of the administration, and so I am part of the team that is implementing his policies across the board. The border barrier issue and the disposition of the materials does not fall into my portfolio. If confirmed as Undersecretary of the Air Force, my job would be to advise
I understand,
Secretary
but you've taken it upon yourself to go on personal fact-finding missions, which you said a few questions ago. So I appreciate the latitude that you do have. I wish you would have used some here. So I want to change gears, Secretary Dalton. I've been a strong advocate for not letting the fighter capacity gap between the United States and China continue to grow. We spoke briefly about that. So what do you think is the proper tactical fighter inventory mix that the Air Force should maintain, and what's the right mix of 4th and 5th generation aircraft that we should maintain while at the same time we're investing in 6th generation? Fighters are in demand around the world, not just for potential China fight. So what are your thoughts there?
Senator, well, first of all, thank you so much for your support at Seymour Johnson, and I did enjoy our conversation about the support that your state is providing. If confirmed, I would look forward to supporting Secretary Kendall in his vision to reoptimize the Department of the Air Force for great power competition, and that includes looking at the force design for the Air Force and the Space Force going forward to ensure that we strike the right balance between modernizing our capabilities, but also being ready for any contingencies that we may face today or in the current security environment going forward. There is a balance to be struck there. It's a strategy that is not without risk, but it is far riskier to find ourselves in a conflict with the PRC and not have the right capabilities to operate in a contested environment.
Thank you. I yield.